There we go. And we are recording. Perfect. I see we've already got a few people in the room. So we're probably going to wait a few minutes just for more people to join. But already, thank you very much for joining. So I'm just going to give it a few more minutes before we start today's webinars on winter holidays and the upsell revenue opportunities. Let's see. There we go. And then can give it one more minute. How's everyone's day doing so far? Annie, Marcus, how you guys doing today? Good?
Fantastic. Got my coffee. It's 8 a.m.
Perfect.
here on the West Coast.
There we go. I'm calling from Toronto, so it's 11 a.m. here. It's getting cold in the city as per December months. Marcus, where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Fort Myers, where winter is coming, and what that means is that at night you feel a bit chilly in your t-shirt.
Oh yeah,
but not during the
sorry to
day.
hear that.
It's actually too hot to be outside during the day.
To each their own pains. For us, it's too cold. For you, it's too warm. And
Exactly.
Annie, I don't know what it's like on the West Coast. Are you in San Francisco or?
It's just too California out here.
Okay, fair enough. It's too California.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. Well, we're gonna get started, and I'm gonna start off with just a brief introduction on myself. We'll let people join the room. So the first few minutes are just gonna be some introductions on Annie, Marcus, myself, and then we'll get cracking on revenue upsell opportunities within the hospitality space. So my name is Francois. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of Enzo Connect, a guest experience platform for the hospitality industry. We help over 20,000 properties digitize and monetize the guest experience around the world. So 53 locations or 53 cities to date. And today we're with Marcus and Annie. Marcus is the CEO and co-founder of Hostaway. And Annie, of course, the CEO of the HostCo. Marcus, you want to give us a quick intro on Hostaway?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me on here. My name is Marcus from Hostaway. You may recognize me from a couple of webinars where I'm usually called Marcus from Hostaway. Hostaway is a PMS and channel manager. We're one of the biggest hospitality technology companies in the world. Today, we got thousands of property managers worldwide, but mostly focused on the US market, and we have a marketplace with hundreds of companies that integrate to offer additional services to those property managers, and Enzo Connect is one of our valued partners there.
Amazing. Well, thank you for joining us today. I know you've got a busy schedule, so I appreciate you making the time. And then Annie, of course, from the HostCo. Want to give us a little introduction on what the HostCo and yourself is all about?
Yes, I'm Annie Sloan, CEO and co-founder of the HostCo. And at the HostCo, we help any host or property manager plug in instant amenities. And those amenities include everything from curated local services, massage, chef, sommelier, Reiki healer, all the way to in-home shopping. And our technology unlocks any item in your home for shopping. That includes firewood, that includes rentals, that includes even something like an outdoor movie projector for a movie night.
I love it. I love it. And your background's awesome because I can see the HostCo logo sitting there in the background. So it's perfect. It's like a Zoom background, but real life. Yeah. Amazing. Well, so today, guys, to give you a bit of the agenda of what we're going to be talking about. So we're going to start off with just what are upsells, just to kind of understand what that means in the hospitality industry, whether you're a vacation rental or a hotel or hostel or anything in between. We're going to talk a bit about what to expect for the holiday season as well, with certain price differences that we're seeing on the average revenue per guest that you're making, whether it's with the property or upsells, timing of these upsells, when should you offer them, how to make that purchasing experience easy so you're not just being like, hey, Venmo me some money for this experience or upsell. And then what sells? And finally, how do you actually earn money? Is this for you? Is this for the homeowners? How do you set yourself up for the business to grow quickly? So we're going to start off with Marcus. And Marcus, I know you wrote an awesome article on kind of previewing what's happening during the holiday season with the World Cup and Christmas and all the holidays coming up. There's been a difference in pricing with hospitality in general. Do you want to kind of share and elaborate a bit more what you've seen on the revenue side with properties and what's happened with all of these events?
Absolutely. Thanks a lot. So we look at the market data very closely at Hostaway because it's important for us to be able to help our customers when they have questions, but it's also important for us as a company to know where the industry is going. Now, we ourselves, we have access to some skewed data because we basically have the aggregated data of our customers, but our customers is not they're gonna represent a subset of the market. And depending a bit on whether we're talking luxury or mid-range, or whether we're talking cottages or condos or cities versus beaches, that subset will look different. But then what we do before we announce any kind of data, we check it against publicly available data sources to see, does it follow the general trends? And most of the time it does. And what we found out is that there's a lot of concerns and a lot of lack of confidence right now, which is very understandable, because when you look at the news for the last 3 years alone, the news have been very negative. But right now, what the news is talking about is, of course, increasing interest rates and an upcoming recession. Nobody has seen a recession. In fact, we have record employment, and the media is talking about how tech companies laid off 25,000 people, but then they forget to say that in the same month, that's for the whole year, but in 1 month they also added 300,000 new employees, and there's record low unemployment. So on one hand, the economy is going great, but on the other hand, the people's opinion about the future of the economy is going in a worse direction.
Misaligned.
So
Yeah.
what our data actually shows is that for the holiday season this year, we are seeing slightly higher occupancy and slightly higher average daily rates than last year. But it's worth mentioning that last year was a record. It wasn't only beating, well, 2020 wasn't good, let's say it like that, but 2019 was a record year. We had been on a streak for the last 10 years, and this, if you work in real estate, you have seen from 2009 to 2019, you have seen prices go up. And same thing if you work in hotels and airlines, everything was going up. So 2019 was a really good year, but 2021 broke that by about 30-40%, depending on the region. And now we're a couple of percent higher than that. So overall, the market is looking really strong. Of course, nobody knows what's going to happen next year, but so far, the American consumer still has savings that they are spending. And although inflation is there, we haven't seen any evidence that people would stop booking places to go.
For sure. And if you look at the holiday season specific numbers, I think what's interesting is rates are going up for properties around Christmas time and so on by significant numbers. I think what I saw from the article that you had written in the Travel Daily News was something along the lines of 40 to 60% in certain places on the rate just around Christmas. Could you maybe elaborate a bit more on what that means for competition in those markets? If all the rates are going up, are people getting booked? And we'll segue this into what we can do to potentially drive other alternative sources of revenue. But if you want to talk a bit more about these rates going up around specific key holiday seasons, that'd be interesting to know.
Absolutely. So when you look at numbers, you always have to take into account what's behind the numbers. So what has been happening, I would say the last 10 years, but really accelerated in the last couple of years, is that the consumer behavior has changed substantially. And of course, in our industry, when I say consumer behavior, it means people who are going to travel. Now, during holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, people typically travel or meet their family and friends. And this has also changed. Actually, I had a colleague of mine said he hasn't really met his family for Thanksgiving for at least 5 years, but this year he's doing something new and meeting family. This is something that I'm seeing as well. There was a time when travel went down, or people changed their travel patterns dramatically in the beginning of COVID, a bit depending on the region. Again, but then suddenly we had revenge travel, and now things are settling out to what, I don't like the term, but it's used a lot, the new normal. Now, the new normal is not the same as it was before, and it's not a direct continuation. So you will see a lot more interesting combinations. You will see people working remotely, but then they meet up with their family who is not necessarily living in the same space. So you might actually go to a third location. Let's say you're working remotely over the holidays in location A and a family lives in B. Maybe instead of meeting at home, you meet at location C, which means that the bookings overall go up and people are willing to pay more, because think about it. If you invite your friends over to your home, they're going to ask, can we afford the plane ticket? Can we afford the trip? But they're going to be staying at your home. But if you have the budget to share it with your family and rent another place, then yeah, prices are higher. But if you're going to do that, you're going to do it. And that's exactly what the consumer is doing right now. They are actually making that booking and going there. And that is why for any individual markets, we are seeing slightly different trends than before. For example, where the travelers are coming from. There's a lot more local bookings going on this year than there was last year, because last year people wanted to get out, but now they actually want to rent a place, but it's not to throw a party. It's actually to meet their family and their friends for the holidays. So this is why the prices are going up and the occupancy is going up slightly as well.
Interesting. And, to that point, with regards to upsells directly, we actually spoke to a few operators who use the pricing of their listings. They reduce it to stay more competitive and then actually compete on revenue with regards to upsells. So they basically start looking at other ways of monetizing the inventory or the guest specifically, and leveraging their average daily price, reducing it a bit to essentially stay up above the competition, but still make the same amount of money as the competition, just in a different way. So in that sense, right now with the holiday season approaching, I feel like timing is kind of everything. And the average lead time this holiday season is about 49 days, meaning it takes about 49 days before that guest starts booking their Christmas, vacation, Hanukkah, holiday season. I'm not booking anything. Flights are too expensive right now, so I'll be working throughout the season. But with that said, I kind of wanted to touch up on timing. We've got these extra fees, we've got these upsells. When can we offer them? Annie, do you want to touch a bit more on that, since you have been dealing with a lot of upsells, I assume, at HostCo?
We have, and we have mapped out the need cycle of the guest throughout their stay. So in terms of upsells, there are specific points along the journey that are the best time to offer those upsells. And I think it's really important to note that the upsells, they're not positioned as upsells, right? They need to be positioned as a value add. What else can we do for you? What can we add to your experience? How do we make this more valuable? So definitely right at that booking stage, that is the time, and I'm sure Marcus will speak to this too, when right after booking, have those opportunities available. Would you like this? Would you like this? Would you like this? Because you also have that booking adrenaline. That guest is they're seeing in their mind what that experience is going to be like, our sleigh ride, what have you. So right after booking is a fantastic time. What we see throughout the life cycle of the stay is several days before arrival. And then again, for us, 1 hour after that guest has checked in. And that is because they've checked in, they figured out where the lights are, they've unpacked, they figured out what they forgot. So they forgot their phone charger, they forgot sunblock. If they're in a sunny place, they probably forgot their kids' swim goggles, right? And then once again, usually if they're at a day 4, hey, if you need anything, if you need a mid-stay clean, if you need same-day laundry service, do you need an extra recycling pickup? All the things that start to become a pain point at day 4. And then once more again, the night before checkout, if something like a late checkout is available, offering an extra night for a discount, right? Because people the morning of the checkout, they're already packing up. Their mind's already out the door, right? So really making sure that you are adding that value throughout the life cycle of the stay, and that it's also automated, right? You as a property manager or host are not going to be reaching out to people, that you have an automated system that is continuing to offer more value through their stay.
For sure. And I want to touch up a bit on that guest journey, right? So the booking confirmation all the way to the checkout and beyond. And specifically, let's look at a bit around the booking stage. So the guest makes that booking and they're presented with special fees, different options. Now, this is something that is supported, by the way, within HostAway, where you can tally on extra fees, different features for upsells. What have we seen, Marcus, on these fees at the booking confirmation level? Is there any data that you could share potentially around that? Are people making those purchases in the booking stage?
I can say as much that this is something that we built out on the request of our customers, and those that have adopted it have used it very much. But it's very interesting to look at it from a guest experience perspective. So and I'm gonna focus only on the additional fees that are being offered at the time of booking. Many of them can be offered later, but there's what a property manager absolutely needs to avoid, especially with the negative media around cleaning fees that's been going around lately. They absolutely need to avoid trying to make money on something that should be included. And but so for example, what I've seen successful upsells is early check-in, late checkout, and then parking. But of course, that's only if the parking is something that's not included. So it has to, you can't charge at a cottage with a driveway that fits 12 cars. But you can charge it if you have a unit in a big city where you have no parking. Then you can, make a deal with someone to offer that, or at least sell it that way. But one of the main advantages with the upsells is that even before the booking, the guest is able to know what's included and what's not, and that's a massive benefit to get the guest to book. And we have seen increased conversions when you offer extras, but we don't have enough data yet to show that it points in positive reviews, but I'm pretty sure it does, because sometimes when guests book, they don't have time to read. This is one of my pet peeves, is following groups that discuss this, and hosts tend to ask themselves, why don't the guests read the description? Well, it's simple. You need to book a place, you look at 20 places, and then you get so tired you just have your time runs out. You have to book a place, you don't have time to read everything. And if all the other 19 places had something and yours doesn't, it doesn't matter if it's hidden in the description. But
Yeah.
if you provide it as an upsell, it's not going to come as a surprise to anyone that it's included. What I've seen, and this is more for the vacation destinations, Firewood offering pool heating or hot tub heating. Um, that is something that is very good to include before, because that way, in some places you may not even want to use the pool. So if you wait until later, you may not get the sale. And yeah, these are the main items that we've seen being sold very successfully.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Now, on the fee side of things, I do want to reiterate what you were saying here about, and this goes back to what Annie was saying as well about adding value, right? So you don't want to, what's the expression? Penny wise, dollar foolish, right? Try to make these extra few bucks here and there. You got to find things that add value. So one of the biggest fee type, and I wouldn't call it necessarily an upsell because it's more of a fee, if you will, that we've seen successful at Enzo Connect is actually around giving the choice to the guest to choose between different options, so that they feel like they're in control of that decision. So one example is damage waivers, which operate in a very interesting way. It's kind of like self-insurance. So the idea of collecting a one-time non-refundable fee, and you keep that cash on the side, and for a rainy day, if someone does cause damages under a certain level, then you can always use those funds. But what we've noticed around Airbnb versus other channels is that guests don't like additional fees, especially once they've made their booking on Airbnb and suddenly they're presented with additional fees that they have to pay. This is specific to Airbnb. They get kind of frustrated. So we've positioned it in a way where it's choose between the safety deposit or the one-time damage waiver. And we've seen increased conversions on that. 85% of guests end up choosing the damage waiver, probably because of the sticker shock item of paying a $500 safety deposit or a one-time $50 fee. And obviously this is additional revenue for you as the operator. At the booking stage of the guest journey, as Annie mentioned, there's different touch points throughout the guest journey. At the booking stage, if you've spent quite a bit of money, you might be not wanting to spend that additional amount for different upsells, even if it will bring value. So you want to reiterate those value points of what can be offered throughout that guest journey. Annie, do you want to touch up a bit more on okay, the booking has been confirmed. Maybe there is a damage waiver, a safety deposit, or some sort of fee that's been purchased. But now we approach the check-in. They haven't yet purchased the upsells. What's that kind of first step? What are some of the things that you can do to get them to look into the store that you're offering effectively? You want to touch up a bit on that?
Yeah. So what we say to all property managers and hosts is listen to your guests. I mean, that's core, right? Is knowing your user, but listen to your guests and you will start to see a pattern of what they're asking for, right? Throughout their stay. And what thing are you unable to fulfill during that stay? I think firewood is a really good example. We started with our test of the host co in Joshua Tree. And people will give, everyone has a fire pit. They'll give firewood for free. And then about midnight on a Saturday night, you start to get the text from tipsy guests, oh, we're out of firewood, or we left the propane on, right? So figuring out what they're going to ask for or what they're asking for right before their stay. Often it's, do you know where we can get a massage? Do you know where we can get tickets to this thing, right? Do you know where we can find a chef? And using that question as an entry point, again, to make it really look like a value add. Hey, a lot of people ask about blank. If you're interested in that, check out our store. And when they're in that store, they can see all of the other items in there. Or any instance where they are asking you a question and you can send them a link that creates that operational efficiency of not going back and forth. Oh, that person's not available. Can you help us find this person? So again, putting that right in their pattern and kind of predicting what they're going to ask for right before they ask for it.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And I think it's important, and this is a subject I always talk about around data and guest-specific data. I think this is also an interesting way to understand who are the type of people staying at my property. Are they asking for balloons, alcohol, and all sorts of party material? Are they asking more for firewood and massage and more chill vibes? Like, what am I catering to, and how can I maybe change the design of the property to cater for that audience? Maybe change the way I do the messaging with my guests to cater for those types of people staying at my property. So I think, it's not just the money that behind the upsells, it's also the value, the guest experience, and of course the data behind the guest to understand what we're tailoring for. Marcus, a bit of I know this wasn't necessarily scripted or shared, but I warned you guys that I would take it off script just because I can't seem to follow the scripts in the first place. But what on the guest data side of things, when it comes to upsells, like, are you able to do with Hostaway? Are there certain things that we can look at and start tracking within different tools? And I'll talk a bit about Enzo Connect in that sense, but I'll try to keep it generic, of course, with regards to upsell data specifically. But how can you start categorizing that information?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of things that both property owners and property managers can do to increase their sales and increase their revenues, and I would categorize them as marketing tools. For example, tomorrow I'm doing a webinar with Airbnb, and they're gonna share exactly what you can do to get more bookings. So they have, for example, promotions that very few people are using. Now, for a consumer, if you have a promotion, we all know Black Friday, it used to cost 99, but now we're going to put a sticker that says 149 and then slash it over and say now it's 99. That's exactly what you could do as a property manager, because that's what the consumer wants to buy. And there's also a lot of other, let's say, special promotions. It doesn't really work like that though, especially on Airbnb, but you can do early bird discounts. So you can give a discount if someone books far in advance. You can give late bird discount. So you can give a discount if someone books just with a short notice, or last minute discount it's called. Then you can give discounts for weekly stays, monthly stays, and then you can also play around with the cleaning fees and the extra person fees. Now those two are quite important because those two can adjust the final price that you get shown. And now Airbnb has changed the way they show the price, so they don't actually show the full price. They still omit the sales tax, but they're getting a lot closer to where the guest is actually able to see how much they're going to pay, which means they're going to filter on that. So you need to think more about your property. Okay, are you actually an attractive place for a group of 8 to stay 3 weeks? Well, in that case, you might need to change the settings so that you offer it at the right price point. Because otherwise, if you're double the price of everyone else, which I see all the time, This happens all the time.
Yeah.
You got these properties, they cost 5,000 a week. There's always one property that has 10,000 a week, and the only reason they have it is that they're not using these tools.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So
yeah,
gamifying the price is what you were talking about. I think gamifying that on the upsells, whether it's early check-in, late checkout, things like that, is another uh, how you can translate that over to the revenue generation side of things. But when you're gamifying and adding discounts, and maybe Annie, you've seen this, offering freebies is a way to enhance potentially that guest experience as well, right? So being able to say, usually this is $50 for the early check-in, but for you, we're going to do it for free. What have you seen anything like that? Like, get operators using your platform to effectively just offer things they would offer for free anyways, but just to make it more like they feel like they're getting something. They're getting that Black Friday vibe. What have you seen on that front, Annie?
Yeah, we've seen, we have quite a few hosts that have a store, and they will offer a free item or a discounted item in their store. Or we have one host who has many properties that has a discounted link to their store. Oh, let me give you the discounted link for that property. So that decreases it. We've also seen really creative items. So this is not so much on pricing, but once you get to a direct booking or you have the email of that guest, what we're seeing is an email go out from that property manager. Oh, we've added this interesting item to our store. So interesting examples here. We have a property manager that has beer burros, literally donkeys that will walk around with saddlebags full of beer, and you can chase them down, right? I know, very odd, but she charges $600 for this. For a 50th birthday party, 40th birthday party, that's the types of property she has, right? Of course they're going to spend that, right? Oh, cool, we want that to photograph it. That gets people to rebook. And that gets then, so she can have maybe she drops the rate a little bit, but what that does is it gives new content to that host. We have a property manager that has a mobile tattoo artist. She has tons of bachelor parties come out. Everyone wants those little flash tats. I mean, horrible idea, right? But also great for promotions because everyone's going to Instagram it. They're going to come back. And these property managers and hosts that can say, oh, we have something new versus the last time, even if it's luggage storage, right? Oh, we've added something new. It gives you a reason to reach out to that guest specifically and continue that loop of booking and rebooking.
Yeah. No, on the book direct side, it creates fidelity, the upsell side of things, being able to provide that experience. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we're seeing this more and more and I think the term guest experience is being overused lately. And part of the reason behind that is, people aren't just booking places, they are booking experiences. They're looking for that special stay. And Marcus, to your point initially, when you mentioned how families are coming together in bigger places and still booking in the same city, when they could meet at home, but they want that experience of maybe being in a chalet up north with the family, the cottage vibe, whatever it might be. So that upsell is a gateway, not just for revenue, but also to make that experience remarkable for more direct bookings and so on. And how can you shine your brand? I would ask with regards to upsell, and this is kind of a open question both for you, Marcus, Annie. I don't know how to answer this one, but how would you shine that brand? Use it as a gateway for showing the book direct side of things.
I could maybe start here
Yeah.
and say that when I said that not enough property managers are utilizing this, it doesn't mean that everyone should. So there's you got to read the room. In other words, figure out what it is your guests are expecting. To give a good example, when you check into the Caesar's Palace in Vegas, you expect them to not have any space in the fridge. And if you want a fridge, you have to call, and it's going to cost you $30 per day extra. And that's what you expect because it's Caesar's Palace in Vegas. But not everyone is that kind of property. And in fact, many cottages, you would expect firewood to be included, at least one batch to be included, and you would expect propane to be included. And if there is a hot tub, you would expect to have it heated because otherwise it's not by definition a hot tub. So this is something that's very important to keep in mind for the guest experience is what are they expecting? And there's, I think, Annie, the donkey for the 40th birthday, I think that's a perfect example where nobody would assume the donkey is included, but in fact, many people would pay it as long as the context is the right one. The location, and the context and the guest, they have to be the right ones. And this is what I think, if there's any property managers now who are thinking about adding upsells or why they're not doing it, start by checking what are the things that are common. And there's also a difference between stating it as a matter of fact and trying to sell it. So if you say firewood costs this much, or you want the pool heated, it's going to be $50 a day. There's a difference between that and asking, would you like the pool to be heated?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Setting the stage effectively for that experience. Annie, how about yourself? What are your thoughts in terms of shining that brand?
I very much agree. Make sure, we always say good hospitality is great marketing. So making sure that you are providing everything you can for free and treating it beyond that as that value add. And a real goal of ours is to see whatever it is that upsell, that value add upsell, translate into a review. So again, yeah, $22 for a bottle of water in Las Vegas. I mean, I'm still complaining about that, although I did it, once I wake up in the morning.
You got the cheap one. For me, it was 23.
Oh my God. They're nickel and diming you, Marcus. Seeing that translate into the review, that's the kind of thing you want, that it is something that stands out so much. And honestly, that can be beer burrows, that can be they had a mindfulness meditation teacher that came and did a thing for us for our girls trip, right? All the way to even like a hangover kit. I mean, obviously, whatever you can provide for free, provide that for free. But we have seen in reviews, oh my gosh, they saved my life because they had this thing. That's what you want to get to, is that end review. So it's not just the money making on the front end, but the guest experience. But how does that upsell delight your guest? And then fill in that blank.
Yeah. And I think opening that door and getting beyond what you expect. I mean, that's what every hospitality operator is trying to offer, right? It's, you want to get to that property and you want to see more than just the pictures you saw on the OTA. You want to get to that property and really get that feeling like, oh, this is exactly what I was looking for. And those aha moments around upsells, both aha moments because you were able to make more revenue, but also aha moment on the guest side because they actually got something they were looking for, are just going to delight the guests. I stayed in a project up in Collingwood a few weeks ago, this sort of glamping site, really cool glamping site. And they had little things in the fridge, right? They had a local cider, what's it called? Local honey in a little pot, things that just made the experience so much better because I came home with these local elements that I could share with friends and so on. The cider, I kept it for myself though. And I think it just makes it a more remarkable experience. So on that point, with regards to making it quick and easy, I think this is where, from a technology perspective, it's also interesting how the tools that you're already using have some of the functions. Tools that you may not be using could help automate. But a lot of the people that we have surveyed in the past were saying that the reason why they weren't doing upsells was it was something else that they just had to do, and they don't have the time for it. Like, they've got cleaning to deal with, they've got all these guests to handle, messages, all of this stuff, and it's like, this is almost another business I have to handle. So how can we make it easier? What can we do in the industry to essentially streamline that? And I will talk a bit about Enzo Connect on that front, but Annie would love to learn more about the store aspects and how you can not be like, hey, give me your Venmo so I can provide you a donkey with beer. How does that work?
So a little bit of background about that as well. So I've been a host and a super host forever. Prior to the Host Co, I was a creative director at Facebook. Prior to that, I was at Twitter. We could talk about that for hours, and we will not on this call, but I am coming purely from a technology background. And I noticed continually that this was a problem and that this could only be solved through absolute automation. It's a pain. Upsells are a pain in the butt, and you're already doing 10 other things. It needs to be something that you, on the property manager side, set it and forget it, right? You are doing nothing. It's automating that messaging. If it's a vendor, out to that florist. Annie Sloan asked for flowers at this location on this day. We're going to pay you out. Or if it's on site, it unlocks it and it reminds you 6 months later when you're running low on inventory. There's no way that this is worth it to anybody unless it is completely automated. And then on the guest side, what we like to say is if you are a guest in a short-term rental, you are either tired or drunk or both. There's very few people who are not one of those two things. It needs to be one-click checkout. It needs to be set up so easily that you don't have to read anything, because people don't like to read. It needs to be a picture with a plus sign on it and then one-click checkout. Otherwise, it doesn't work on either side. It needs to be absolutely seamless with no questions to you, because again, what we're aiming for is fewer questions for your property manager rather than more.
100%. We see the same thing with the boarding end zone. I think another element is a tighter relation with the core systems that operators use. So two-way synchronization with your property management system. Someone purchases an early check-in, all these other rules, automations, setups, and things that you've done, they need to go out. You can't, you need to make sure that they've actually gotten that early check-in. Nothing worse than paying for something that you don't end up getting, right? So I agree on the one-click checkout. I think what's interesting is that PMS, property management systems, actually also have the payment data in some cases already from the reservation. So that one-click checkout is not even, you don't even have to re-put your credit card information, things like that. Like there's different ways to actually drive and convert those users into purchasing upsells. Now, the big question that everyone keeps asking though, and I see this on onboarding calls, I see this all the time, is what sells? What are the top upsells? What are the things that I can do that are easy where I don't have to necessarily do inventory control? I can talk to a few, but I feel like Andy, Marcus, you guys will be best equipped as well throughout the guest journey to share more. I've seen crazy things. I've seen, the basic boat rentals. I've seen coffee pods. I've seen champagne on arrival, things that could require some sort of management on the side and organization. I've seen the top three in Enzo Connect being early check-in, late checkout, mid-stay cleaning. Those are like just easy, set aside and forget. What are some other cool upsells that people can provide? What do you guys see?
Yeah, so first of all, I really like the set and forget. One thing that a lot of our users in HostAway do, we have an automation that automatically checks if the day after checkout is available, and then an automatic message goes out and asks, "Would you like to stay one day extra?" And you could even set it up to include an automatic discount to the daily rate if you want to. I think first of all. Upsells, the reason why Caesar's Palace can charge, actually Aria was the one charging $23 a bottle, is because everything else is right. Not everyone can charge for upsells because it's going to be quite offensive. So make sure that the property actually has the basics in place. You talked about being drunk or tired. In order to get there, you need to get the wine bottle open. If you don't have a wine bottle opener, you shouldn't be selling anything at all. You should get a wine bottle opener. I'm actually staying at a place right now where I had to message the guest because the host, because we couldn't sit on the sofa. It's so worn out, it just hurts your back. But there's an easy solution to that. You don't need a new sofa, just put some sofa pillows. And I'm pretty sure that everyone on this webinar, when you look around you at home, or you go visit a friend, they have sofa pillows. But so should the vacation rentals. If you don't have a wine bottle opener, if you don't have sofa pillows, you're not going to get very far upselling. Now, to give a personal example, I saw, and I've actually been using this myself on beach rentals. It's quite common that you need things that you don't want to bring with you. You arrive by plane or car. You're not going to bring your bikes. You're not going to bring a crib for the baby. These are some essentials that not everyone wants, and it's a nice idea to offer bikes to your guests. But keep in mind this: if you offer free bikes to your guests, well, bikes need maintenance. Now, if someone actually expects you to have those bikes, what if the tire's flat? What if the gears don't work because nobody has been has been oiling it? If they get it for free, it's gonna be a bad experience unless it's properly maintained. Now, if they pay for it, on the other hand, they can expect it to work. But if it's done by a third party whose main business is renting out this equipment, then of course it will work because that's their job, is to provide the bikes that actually work, which is a great experience. So I have, for example, when we had our baby, we rented a crib, and it was the third party company. We just arranged it with them. It wasn't the one-click checkout. It was more of a one text message, and then we got the crib. But it was amazing, and then the property manager just made a commission on that. So that's I would say a very easy path to upselling. But please make sure you have the basics in place. We need our wine bottle
Yeah.
openers.
Wine bottle openers and normal couches. I can only see you right now sitting on a metal rod and having to ask the owner to fix that up. I agree, and actually, yeah. I mean, to your point, Annie, what would you want to share on that? Actually,
So yes, we've seen that too. We say focus on your core competencies before you do anything else. If you can't keep your soap, your soap dish full, that's what people are going to review, right? You about. When we look beyond that at hotels, we look at full service hotels. I mean, they have different things they can do, but full service hotels, a good deal of them make 30% of their revenue on upsells. So it's definitely worth it if you are getting the right things. We also say start with 1 or 2 items that you can control. Definitely, I think bikes are too hard, and the insurance too. But what are the 1 or 2 items, and then build from there. And if you look at that pie chart of upsells from hotels, food and bev is generally the biggest. The next category is wellness. So we like to say focus on wellness because almost everyone will ask for, and that's not just a massage, that's facial, that's glam squad, that's now getting into all those, woo woo things like meditation, yoga, etc. But offering those, and particularly because you can have a vendor for that is that specialist in that thing to come to the house. That's incredibly useful. And then from there, certainly rentals, transportation, children's items, again, with things like Baby Quip, right? So just going down through those upsells. When it comes to unique upsells, one of the coolest things about my job is that I can look at the sales every day. And every day I'm surprised by what someone is offering within the legal limits of what you can offer, right? We have a woman who is selling North Carolina shaped Christmas ornaments, and she's been selling them since she joined in August. Almost every single rental buys one of those, right? We have a beautiful farm in Arizona, and they sell all their handmade soaps. They also have them, and people use them, and they love them, right? And they're making, say, about $700 a month because they have all of the products that they make on site to offer. So it also gets down to what is the unique thing about your space that you can offer. So using that creativity, but just starting again with 2 or 3 things. We also say, you don't want it to ever feel like walking into the Best Western and there's a rack full of brochures, right? That's
yeah.
Analysis paralysis. What are those 3 or 4 things? And that's it. And figure out what hits and only offer those 4 things. I mean, there's the late check, there's the early check-in, late checkout, mid-stay clean, but what are those couple of items beyond that everyone will want?
100%. No, I couldn't agree more. And this goes back to understanding who your audience is. This goes back to the local aspect of traveling, which I'm such a big fan of when it comes to hospitality and specifically vacation rentals. I think that's where vacation rentals play such a strong role. Is every property is unique, every operator is unique, every property management company is different. Versus hotels, where you're staying in the same configuration, they copy pasted in different areas, and so you're really just staying in a bed. In this case, you're staying in a home. So being able to shine maybe the local community. I gave my example of the honey from the local place, and in your case, Annie, with the Christmas ornaments for that place. Not surprised. I think people will want to get that almost souvenir from the operator, which most likely they'll end up leaving a review as well about how personalized the experience was and how it didn't feel like it was just a machine. And I think this type of approach to the guest experience, the more properties you manage, we've seen a direct correlation with the higher the bigger the property manager, and part of my French, but the shittier the guest experience. And the reason behind that is there's just no time. You have so many things to deal with. You have so many properties to manage and so on. And so these little add-ons, these little things that you can do to enhance each experience of each traveler, treating them as unique, is also a way to elevate those reviews, to elevate that guest experience, even if you manage 50, 100, 200 properties. Marcus, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah. About elevating an experience, I think there's 2 aspects here that are good to keep in mind. Is that if you offer something for a price, I think the bike is a good example. If it's included, fewer people will use it. But if you offer something for a price, they attach a much higher value to it. For example, if someone is paying to get the pool heated, they're going to use it during their stay. And that's worth keeping in mind, that it might be worth offering some of these experiences and then even give them for free, because that way you'll get the maximum value, and that will pay itself back when the guest comes back, and when they leave a good review. Now, if you do end up providing something for free, and I think this is maybe the most actionable item for upsells so far, we are all giving something for free all the time. But if you're doing that, please tell people. For example, you can
Yeah.
set up an automation that if you don't have a guest the day before, and you know the cleaner is cleaning after the last guest checked out, then you can automatically send a message that says, "Hey, we normally charge for a check-in, but you can check in as early as 6 a.m. and it's okay." That gives
Yeah.
some value to the guest without actually have to do any selling or anything related to money, and that also
Yeah.
streamlines the
No, let them
experience
feel
for the guest.
special.
Yeah.
I love that. Now we're gonna wrap this up in the next 10 to 15 minutes. I am gonna leave some time for questions. So if you guys have any questions, you can add them already in the chat on the side panel there. There's also polls going on just so we can understand who we're talking to today live. And this whole stream is recorded, so you will see it later. But I do want to talk about some of the actual numbers behind this, because I've seen some crazy things. Just to give you insights on the last in November, with less than 3% of our operators using our upsell system, we saw them make over 26,000, and this was on a couple hundred properties. It wasn't on the full everything. And so I'm really pushing, and this is why we're having this webinar today with you guys and so on. I'm really pushing this. What are the numbers that you guys are seeing when it comes to upsells? I've seen things from 1.2x on the like a boost on the revenue per guest. And so I want to kind of see what you've seen, Annie, Marcus, on these kind of fees, upsells, and so on. What are people making? How much money are they making?
So we're seeing top sellers on our platform make about $1,000 per month per listing. So when you then take that into your property manager, I've got 30 listings, right? And the great part about that is it drives up. If you're looking to sell your company just went up by a couple $1 million, right? Because you're adding a new revenue stream. And the interesting thing for us is we're seeing that very differently. We have not yet seen one pattern of I'm making $1,000 this. We have someone making $1,000 by just offering fresh flowers, chocolates, and pool heating. That's all he sells. We have other people. We do massage. We have our own soaps, etc. So it is really dependent on that specific property.
The operator wants to offer, of course, the price of the items, things like that. I love when I see hikes in our Stripe dashboard, and then I look at it and I'm like, yeah, someone just purchased an $800 boat rental ride, so that makes sense. But there's also a sense of consistency that you can create on that for monthly recurring revenue with these upsells. I pointed out the whole damage waiver, the fees, and so on. Marcus, do you have anything as well in terms of numbers that you've seen with regards to that segment?
Yeah. We work with a lot of professional property managers, and one of their concerns is often that they have different ways of saying it, but let's be honest, if you don't have enough money, then a lot of things get hard. And one of the things we work with is always helping them to make sure that they make a lot of money. Now, a mistake that a lot of property managers make is they focus too much on how they're renting out, what they're renting out the property for, and they don't focus at all on their business model. So a very common model is where they get the nightly rate, but they get 20% of it and the owner gets 80%. That's, I would probably say, the most commonly used business model for vacation rental property managers. Now, it's worth mentioning that model alone, if you just do that, you're not going to make a lot of money. In fact, you're probably not going to make enough money to keep the lights on. You need to have other ways of structuring it. And there's a lot of services that, this is how I spoke about the extra person fee. For example, if there's more people staying at the property, you have to think about, is it really value that's taken away from the owner, or is it really extra work for the property manager? Does it, for example, mean that if you have one person staying versus 8 persons, will you have more questions from those 8 people? If you do, that means that more people are more work for you. Then why are you giving 80% of the salary for that work to the property owner? These are things you really have to think about. And that's why I think upsells are so incredibly powerful, because the bottom line of the property manager, you get your 20%, and then the cleaning fee usually equals the amount you pay for the cleaner. So that's basically money that just flows through you. But you have your 20%. Out of that, you need to pay the salaries, you need to pay your cell phone bill, you need to pay for gas, you need to pay for pretty much everything you need to run your business. And then you have something left. Some months you have a negative amount left, and some months you have a positive amount. But if you can set up an automation that generates you revenues that you don't share 80% of them, where you keep 100% of them, even getting $20 extra a month will make a massive impact. And making 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 extra a month will make an even bigger impact. And it's really not hard at all. What is hard is running a business where your gross margin is 20% and that's where all your expenses go out from. That is hard. But increasing that amount is not difficult. So we have seen, when we restructure, we have seen people double their gross margin. And normally you would need to double the amount of properties, or double the nightly rates, or double the revenues to achieve that, or double your prices. You go from 20 to 40%. But if you can just do the same amount of profit by doing a couple of upsells, like even early check-ins, mid-stays cleans, basics like that, then that's what you should be doing.
100%. And you actually answered the next question, which is perfect, which is like, how do you actually earn this money? Like, who keeps the money? Is it myself as the operator, or is it the owner? And what we've seen on our end is operators. Operators are keeping those funds, and owners are totally fine with it. They have no problem. They have a set amount that they expect every month for the property, plus or minus whatever. And that revenue is additional services that, if anything, they're very happy that you're offering this, because it further illustrates that you are a professional operator. You are able to differentiate yourself from the other property managers in the area, because you can provide those additional services that other property managers are probably struggling to go out and make sure that this property is clean, etc. And you're there. Well, you know what? I do all that, and we offer additional services to make sure your property is shining. So it's funny to see how the guest experience isn't just a willful term. It actually applies towards upsells, but it also applies towards owner retention, in making sure that owners want to make sure that they have not only the best properties, the best guests, and that the people managing their properties are providing that best experience. Annie, what are you seeing on that side of things? The business model, how are people sharing it?
The exact same thing. So with property managers, it is a way to directly increase your revenue. You should be getting paid for your time. That's exact. Marcus is so right. With
Oh, I think I just lost you on the sound. Can you still hear me? Or is it just me?
We lost you
On the sound? Might be the AirPods connecting. Weird. I don't know what.
I can't hear her either.
Let me allow host to control mic. That was it. Just suddenly out of nowhere removed the sound. You're not on mute though, I promise. You might want to join back in and come back. Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. Well, just following up on this, we were at, in terms of upsells, or being able to use this as owner retention is definitely a big piece of what we're seeing as well. Keeping that revenue for the property manager, as Annie was mentioning just before she got cut off, around the idea of, this is your time, this is you spending that time to make that additional revenue. Now, I do want to open up the stage for some questions. We have 5 minutes left here, so I'm hoping at least to get a few questions in there. So if you guys want to ask any questions, feel free to do so. It's in the right-hand side. There's a little chat button. You're more than welcome to click that. We also shared the link to the webinar, the Airbnb at HostAway, new updates and tips to increase visibility for 2023. So that's going to be tomorrow, Marcus. Is that correct?
That's right.
Perfect. And then So, just to close it off, as people may be asking questions, where can people find you? How can people learn more about Hostaway and find Hostaway?
Good question. So we have a service promise to put live human being in front of you in 1 hour if you go and sign up on hostaway.com. I know it sounds like we're alien robots when we talk about live human beings, but this is really what we're trying to do. You can reach out to me personally by just Googling Marcus Hostaway LinkedIn and connect to me there. This weekend, 600 people connected to me, and I went through each one of them to make sure I answered every message. So I'm more. It might take a few months until I get to you, but I'll always get back if you reach out to me on LinkedIn.
I love that. Annie, can you hear us now? Or
can
we hear
you? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes, there we go. Amazing.
No one could hear it.
I know. Well, you know what? Let's jump real quick. Since you were off, I was just asking how people could find Marcus while people may be typing in questions. But you want to just finish what you were saying before the mic cut off, if anything. So we were talking about owner retention. Go ahead.
Yes, we are finding that for property managers, this is a revenue stream for them because they are the ones doing all of the work, to be honest, in the guest experience, right? So this is where they're able to upsell. We're even seeing, it's so funny, seeing property managers include things that break, right? So if someone breaks something big, instead of going through the entire Airbnb system, oh, don't worry, buy 2 more wine glasses in our store, right? Because they're the one that are going to buy it. They're the ones that are going to restock it. They're the ones that need the restocking fee. So making sure, again, only positioned as a value add on the guest side, but a way to recoup for your time or your boots on the ground team. And that is through upsells.
Yeah.
I could also add that this, just like Francois said earlier here, you can market this to the owners as well. I saw an email from a property manager where they said, hey, we're very happy to announce that we now can offer beach gear and child equipment to your guests. So they were very happy in just sharing that with the owners, that they're now able to provide a better guest experience. So like Annie said here, it's hospitality is all about marketing, and yeah, don't be afraid to market your services to the owners. I guarantee you, if you say we're going to give your guests a better experience from now on, nobody's going to come and ask you for money for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it creates additional trust with the owners in that sense. They want to make sure that their guests are being, what I see in certain accounts, that we have some accounts where they let the owners in the account as well and message from time to time. And I can always see the frustration where if the owner sees that the message hasn't been answered right away or something hasn't been answered the right way, people get kind of frustrated. The owners get frustrated. If you can show you're proactive and show the experience you're providing, people will be very happy in that sense. Amazing. So we got a quick intro on Marcus and how people can get to Marcus to learn more about the services. Annie, do you want to share a bit more how people can reach out and learn more about HostCo as well?
Yeah, we are at www.thehost.co. You can go there and sign up. You can also sign up right away for a demo. It's very easy, self-serve. And then also our stores, they are simply a mobile web page that you can put into Enzo, you can put into Hostaway. You can essentially use them everywhere you want. So head over there, and if you use the promo code Enzo, we will reach out right away, and you will get some money back after your first sale as well.
Amazing. That's awesome. I appreciate that. And last but not least, I'm Francois. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Enzo Connect. So we're this guest experience platform. We are partnered two-way synced with Hostaway, and we cover things from check-in, smart locks, guidebooks, upsells, and so on. But we're really about connecting, not about ripping and replacing the technology you're already using. So we are partnered with the HostCo in this case, other platforms as well, other services, and you can always have a look on our website and so on to learn more. I see we actually have a few Hostaway users in there that are very happy with the different services. So I'm intrigued to see what that data is going to look like. We are going to share this webinar on our website. It is recorded. And of course, if you have any questions, you'll be able to still post some of the questions later down the road with our respective teams, both Hostaway, HostCo, and Enzo Connect to answer some of those questions. I think we actually might have how do you suggest we present the upsell so it is a one-click turnaround? We do have one question from Fernanda Sierra, actually. So let's just take that one question real quick.
I actually answered it already I saw it in the chat as well.
Good.
Thanks for using the question function there. So we currently don't have any upsells in our guest portal on HostAway. It's only available before booking on the booking engine. So for now, I would say go and check out Enso Connect. They're great.
For sure. Yeah, we have a boarding pass function, so happy to share more about that. But I appreciate it, Marcus. Awesome. Well, in this case, it seems like we've answered most of the questions. We've shared some interesting numbers and so on. So I'm eager for the next webinars that are going to come out. Make sure to check out Marcus's webinar. It's tomorrow, right? With Airbnb. So that'll be interesting. And thank you, everyone, for joining. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.